Chapter 15 October 3rd. Our second tutoring session is tomorrow. Part of me wants to run. Part of me is looking forward to it. Part of me wants to change. Part of me wants to stay the same. Which part of me is descendant and which part is ordinary? Because we are all mixed up. Our DNA, part of the reason for the division of the veil, is that after thousands of years, the angels' DNA has been diluted and mixed with the ordinary population. It was bound to happen. Laws of evolution. There are those who were born from other descendants, and there are those who have descendant abilities even though their parents are ordinary. About the age of 12, their energy of creation begins to manifest, and their light is visible to other descendants, demons, and even a few ordinaries with the ability to see the energy. That's why I've been careful not to use my abilities and keep my light wrapped around myself. I don't know who would find me first, but I do know I wouldn't be welcome at the Veil. The Veil of Descendants looks for descendants with as much angel DNA as possible. They claim to be preparing for the final battle when Cadophilius finds the daggers and attacks the descendants with an innumerable force, but they don't invite those who truly need protection. Descendants who have been born from ordinaries, or descendants who refuse to follow the rules, or descendants like me who've made mistakes, life-changing, unalterable mistakes. Mom believed that the Veil was unfair and should open its doors to all descendants and guardians. Mom believed in helping those who came into this world alone. Would she have chosen differently if she knew she would leave her daughter in the very condition that she tried to save people from? It's not Mom's fault. It's my own choices. As much as I want to change, I'm not ready. I won't let him get close to me. If I push him away, I can't hurt him. Treadon Nelson. Treadon's nightmare pulled him from sleep, his sheets sticking to him, his face drenched in sweat. A light breeze swayed his curtains as he stumbled from his bed to lean against his dresser. It was a dream. Only a dream. He looked at the dark silhouette outlined in the mirror against the trickle of moonlight coming through the window. He placed his hands on his own chest and let his lungs fill and empty, rising and lowering. He was whole, but he couldn't figure out why he felt so broken. He slumped back on his bed, checking to see if he could get away with getting up. The glaring red numbers read 1:45. Not the best time for a shower. He readjusted in the bed and forced his eyes closed. They popped back open, the dream still playing tricks behind his eyelids. He tossed and turned, trying to find something else to concentrate on. He thought of the mystery of Xander's business. He had more questions than answers. He thought about Rachel and Jaren and the football team. There was a drop in his stomach as he thought about the fight in the locker room and Bridger Michaels' parting look. Michaels hadn't done anything yet, but the weight might be worse than the revenge. He tried to change directions again and thought about his mom. She'd worked late again tonight, and then spent the evening on that stupid CB radio with Gabe. His stomach twisted even tighter. He needed something relaxing, not stressful. School wasn't any better. Tests and homework, math. He almost groaned out loud, but then he thought of Eleanor Agarwal, the girl who claimed to be descended from angels. She had to be lying, or teasing, or delusional, but Treadon felt the knots in his stomach untwisting. His lungs relaxed. The weight lifted from his chest. He thought of her eyes, of getting lost in them when the world had melted away. His breathing returned to normal. He stopped twisting in his blankets. He lay on his back, arm behind his head, staring at the ceiling, but seeing her face, her eyes deep and intelligent and swirling with emotion. He sunk into a peaceful sleep, encased in a cocoon of warm comfort. The next day, Treadon felt rested for the first time in months. He sat through math, focused on the math problems and not the teacher, reading the board and not the withering glances of Mr. Ashcroft. He understood 2 new formulas, and by the end of class, Mr. Ashcroft gave him a grudging compliment. He went to lunch in an unusually good mood. He found Rachel and Jaren standing together in the lunch line, heads close, words whispered. The good mood drained away as he remembered Xander Calivan facing the man in the heavy trench coat and wide-brimmed hat. Vox. "Do you think he'll let me do an interview?" Rachel asked. Treadon joined them in line. Jaren shrugged. He hadn't switched all the way over to his charming school persona, but he still nodded at Treadon and bumped fists with a couple kids as they walked by. There was a wall to cover his pain, but it was raw. Incomplete. "I'll ask again," Jaren said. "He owes you." We'll head over after school and see if he'll do a quick impromptu one. He can't say no if we're standing right in front of him." Jaren picked up a tray. "I'll have the questions ready." Rachel scribbled some notes in the notebook she carried everywhere, but onto the football field with her. "Maybe I'll send him an email beforehand so he can prepare the answers." Rachel turned to Treadon. "Did you learn anything about Xander Calivan last night, or XC Energy? Would you like to make an official statement for the article?" Treadon looked around, hoping for an escape or distraction. He really didn't have enough information to help Rachel with her paper. He didn't understand what the meeting was about, and couldn't trust his weird ability to read people as material for an online article. Then he caught sight of Eleanor across the lunchroom. She sat by herself, which was weird in the crowded room. There were several empty seats on either side of her and across from her. No one seemed to notice, even those who were looking for a seat. Her back was to him, head down, black hair spread across her back and hanging down on both sides of her face like a veil. Her shoulders stiffened. She knew he'd seen her. "There she is," Treadon said, pointing. "The girl sitting over there by herself. You've got to come meet her." Rachel's head came up. Her eyebrows came together, like she recognized the ploy, but meeting new people was Rachel's 10th passion. "Who?" "The girl I told you about," Treadon said. "She's tutoring me in math." "You mean your imaginary girlfriend?" Jaren gulped down the new subject like it was Gatorade at halftime, a moment of relief that let him flip his switch back on. But then both Rachel and Jaren started acting weird. Treadon couldn't put his finger on it at first, but his sudden urgency to get through the lunch line seemed to make them move in slow motion. Rachel studied the salad bar like she was picking out her words for an article. "This isn't rocket science. Throw on some tomatoes and let's go." Treadon stayed behind Rachel, since the salad line was the shortest, bumping her tray with his to get her moving. Jaren took the burger and fries line and started a conversation with the lunch lady. Treadon checked over the heads of the other students in the cafeteria. Eleanor hadn't moved. She hadn't touched the brown bag in front of her, and she held a book open on the table, but Treadon didn't think she was reading. Jaren stopped at the sauces, acting like he was shopping for a car. The choices were ketchup or ranch. Not a lot of options. Treadon pointed to the ketchup. "Go with door number 1. "Calm down, hero. You're acting like there's a fire," Jaren said as he reached for the ketchup and then changed his mind and grabbed the ladle in the ranch. Treadon wanted to pull Rachel's arm and kick Jaren in the rear end. He took a deep breath. There was still time before lunch ended. While he waited for Jaren and Rachel to pay, Treadon glanced again at Eleanor. She was bent over her book, hair falling over her face. Nothing out of the ordinary. She wasn't flying. She didn't have wings. She didn't even seem to have friends. There was no extra glow about her or markings that set her apart. So why did he feel such an incredible pull towards her? Why was there a nagging doubt in his mind that she might have told the truth, just so he wouldn't believe it? Descended from angels? Impossible. Treadon took 3 determined steps before realizing that Jaren and Rachel weren't behind him. He turned and found them 2 tables away, sitting with a group of kids Treadon had never talked to before, hadn't really noticed before. Rachel squeezed in between a boy wearing rose lipstick, guillotine earrings, and fingerless gloves, and a girl with short hair, finger tattoos, and a blank stare. Rachel got a smile out of the boy, but the girl stirred an almost empty cup of coffee with a straw and gave Rachel no reaction. The 2 people Jaren sat between stared at Jaren, faces frozen in disbelief. They wore bull nose rings, black lipstick, chokers, and knee-high platform boots. Treadon could read their confusion and disbelief, but he also felt the same way. Rachel and Jaren had completely brushed him off, ignored him, sat with a group of people that they'd never interacted with before, even though Treadon was sure he had a few of them in a couple of his classes. Jaren reached across the table, grabbing fries from the tray of a girl with a diamond stud glittering below her lower lip. Her eyes followed the path of her fries from Jaren's fingers to his mouth. He took a bite, and Treadon heard Jaren ask about her favorite music. Someone bumped Treadon, almost knocking the tray from his hands. Another person passed, hitting his elbow. He had stopped in the middle of the main path between the tables. People were trying to move by, get on with their lives. Treadon felt as everything had paused. He looked at Rachel and Jaren, casually making friends like they'd forgotten all about him, all about Xander Calivan, and all about their normal social behavior. Eleanor stood, grabbing her lunch bag and her book. She didn't look at him, but everything in her stance reflected her effort not to. She turned to walk around the table, and Treadon caught her profile, saw the slight twitch of her mouth, a blink that was too slow, her shoulder shrug like she was putting on a coat. She thought something was funny. He could almost hear her taunting him. Better luck next time.